Hey everybody. So what are we up to today? Today I'm going to test my patience and make some pear jelly. So come on back. Alright, so this morning I went out and picked 2 more 5-gallon buckets of pears that we're going to can as slices and halves. But first, we're going to make some jelly with what's left of the first 8 gallons that I picked. And Joe's helped me cut these up and they've been soaking in the water. So we are going to turn this into jelly. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to drain these pears. Sis said she was completely tired of peeling pears. And then they're going into the pot. So there are our pears in the pot. To this, we're going to add 2 cups of water. Just keep it from sticking. I'm going to turn the heat on high and we're going to get this boiling. Alright, so we've got it to a boil. I'm going to stir through it once. Turn it down to medium heat. Put a lid on it. We're going to let it cook until the pears are soft. Typically, that's 30 minutes, but we'll see. Alright, we're about 20 minutes into the cooking process. You want to make sure that as you're cooking this, that you are stirring it occasionally. And just kind of keeping an eye on it. We're already getting quite a bit of juice out of this. I'm going to mash it a little bit. Just to help the juicing process. Usually I don't do jelly much because I feel like it's a waste of produce. The one exception is possum grapes because that's the only way I know to do possum grapes is to do jelly. Mash it, stir it, lid back on, let it keep cooking. Okay, we've reached the 30-minute mark and we've got quite a good amount of juice starting here, but I'm going to make sure I can get as much juice out of these pears as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and let this cook for another 15 minutes or so, just to get as much as I can out of it. If I'm going to waste all the pulp, I want to make sure I'm getting plenty of juice. Alright. Back on goes the lid. 15 minutes on the timer. Alright, so the 15 minutes is up, so that's 45 minutes of cooking time that we've done on this. Oh, it looks good. Pull it off the heat. Give it one last mash. Get it to release as much of that juice as we possibly can. They are nice and soft. And then it's going to go in the colander to drain. So jelly bags are nice if you've got one of those to get juice for jelly. That's awesome. You can use cheesecloth as well. A couple layers of that. What I like to use are these flour sack towels. They work awesome. Plus they hold up to the washing machine, so they're reusable over and over and over again. We're just going to line our colander with that. We've got it in our pot. And carefully, because they're hot, in go our pears. You don't want to overfill it. Alright, so this is where the patience comes in. You want to let this sit for at least 2 hours and drip through. You don't want to squeeze it, which I have a tendency to want to do, because if you squeeze it, it's going to cloud your jelly. So you just want to let it sit here and leave it alone for at least 2 hours. Fortunately today I have things to do, right, while that happens, so that I'm not going to be tempted to squeeze it. I'm going to go peel pears. Okay, so our 2 hours is up, and I didn't squeeze. And let me tell you, it's a struggle, because I want to squeeze the juice out of it, but I didn't. So I ended up with 10 cups of juice. To that, we're going to add 4 tablespoons of lemon juice to raise the acidity just a little bit, and 10.5 cups of sugar. Okay, so we're going to bring this to a full rolling boil, and that means that you cannot stir it down. Stir the boil down. Once it gets to that point, we're going to boil it for 1 minute, and then we'll go to the next step. Just a little FYI, this is a low sugar version of this, so if a full sugar version would have been 15 cups of sugar. So I lowered the sugar, and we're going to use low sugar pectin to set it. Okay, so we've got it to a full rolling boil, and we're going to set the timer for 1 minute and just keep stirring it. For 1 minute. And jam and jelly will foam a lot, but I'm going to give you a trick to help that. You can actually skim it off, the foam, before you fill the jars, but the way I do it, you don't have no skimming. Alright, there's our minutes. Here, pull this off the heat for just a minute. We're going to add in our sugar gel, or pectin, whatever kind of pectin you want to use is fine. Add that in, and I like to use the whisk to whisk it in to make sure that it all gets broken up and assimilated into the mix. Because you don't want no chunky pectin floating around in there. And you'll see different ways of doing this in different recipes, and some people do the pectin first and then the sugar. I've always done the sugar first and then the pectin, and that's what works for me, so that's how I do it. Alright, so that's mixed in real good. Back on the heat we go. Back to a boil. Perfect. Now it's starting to foam up real good now. So what I do to cut that foam is I use a tablespoon of butter. Now real butter, not margarine or any of that crap. Real butter. Tablespoon of real butter will help cut that foam. You want to make sure during this process that you are stirring it constantly. Alright, I'm going to take it off the heat for a minute so I can kind of judge what I got going on here. I'm going to cook it just a little bit longer. The main thing is you don't want to overcook it, because then it will get hard as a rock when it sets up, and you don't want that. But jelly's got a little less body to it than like a jam or a preserve. So I am going to put this back on for just one more minute. I can feel the resistance on my spoon. It's not quite where I want it to be. Now you can save your jelly. If it doesn't set up, you can go back in and recook it and re-can it. But I want to try to avoid that if at all possible. Alright. It off. That actually feels pretty good. giving me a little bit of resistance. Alright, so we're going to get these jars filled. Okay, so we've got all the jars ready, and you know the drill, 1/4 inch headspace. We're going to fill them all up. Well, my recipe overshot my jars just a little bit. So I am boiling 1 more jar so I can finish off this pot. So because I overshot my recipe, I used all my jelly jars on this that I had, so I had to use a pint to finish it, and almost got a pint worth. Alright, next step is the same as always. We're going to clean them off, get them lids on them so we can get them in the water bath. Alright, into the water bath they go for 15 minutes. There you go. We ended up with 12 8-ounce jelly jars and almost a pint full. Isn't that gorgeous? Whew, I had to come out and get some air. We want to thank you so much for stopping by. We truly appreciate you taking the time. And we'll catch you next time.